We're back from Thanksgiving break, stuffed full of turkey, great food.
And stuffing.
And stuff, yeah, basically. Yams. I had some good yams over Thanksgiving break.
Oh, yeah.
So welcome to the Fantasy Football Wrap-Up. I am your host, Blake Randall, along with my co-host, Jessy Gary.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Week 12 is in the books. We have one more week left in the regular season of fantasy football. And
God, it's almost time to cry.
It's that stretch. This is basically the time where, I shouldn't worry. You told me not to worry. We was talking about this before we started recording, but, I'm like I have those bipolar moments where I'm starting to panic a little bit, where I'm, stressing, like, should I make a last-minute trade for so-and-so, or should I do this, should I do that? But I need to have, like, that second voice, like that little the angel and the devil on my shoulders, questioning my decisions.
Right. Be patient.
I'm trying. That's what's helped me this year. I think that's what's got me, along the way. And I think I'll go in and start with this. This will be my first topic, just because it affects me the most. But I feel like it affects a lot of other people too. Is Kareem Hunt and that Chiefs offense?
Oh yeah, the way he started out the season as the number one back, just eating up everyone, and now he's.
What's crazy is he's still ranked high up there just because of how those stats were. So it's just ridiculous. Kareem Hunt, the Chiefs offense has been figured out. With all the first 5 weeks of the season, they had all that trickery and all those crazy plays that they were able to do, and the big numbers they were able to put up on offense. Defenses have figured them out at this point, because that's what defenses and teams are supposed to do, is finally have enough tape on these teams and be able to figure out. Like, we was texting each other too, and I brought it up to you, and I said, what it is it's like the Rams last year, where all you had to do was put 8 in the box and you just shut down a key player, which is Kareem Hunt. And Alex Smith is not able to do anything and get anything going. Chiefs just look awful. And I don't think, and I think they're not going to make the playoffs at this point. It's crazy that they were, at the beginning of the year, they were Super Bowl contenders. And now I don't think they are at this point.
Beginning of the year, people were talking about Alex Smith as an MVP candidate.
Now
he's the whole reason. He's the captain of the ship, and he's getting ready to crash into the iceberg.
They're the Titanic right now.
He's struggling big time. There's a lot of people that's, let's get Mahomes in.
I'm one of those people at this point now.
I'm still a patient. Let's be patient and see, let Alex work through his kinks and, figure some things out. I don't get it. Nothing's changed on the O-line. The running game should still be dynamic. Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill do so much stretching the field and just dynamic playmakers. I just don't know how they are struggling so much. I don't know.
Here's the thing. I'm doing it this week. This is the first time that I'm doing it, but I'm benching Kareem Hunt because I just want to see if he can have a bounce back game. And if he has a bounce back game on my bench, you know what? Good. That's that means I can throw him back in my lineup for the playoffs for week 14, 15, and 16.
Yeah.
Because I'm already locked in our league. I'm already locked in the playoffs, so I don't really have anything to worry about. It's just I have a worry about Kareem Hunt, and my running backs are pretty much ride or die by Kareem Hunt and Leonard Fournette, and they've been a roller coaster ride, pretty much downhill ride the last month.
Right, and if you have some players like Fournette, who's been struggling, like you just mentioned, or Kareem Hunt, who's been struggling, or if you had Zeke and you ended up with his backup.
I feel like if you Alfred Morris, I feel like if you drafted,
they're all struggling.
If you drafted Zeke, you had to prepare for that at some point.
I'm just saying Morris is struggling. I expected Morris to come out and at least give me 100 yards a pop, and he hasn't had 100 yards or a touchdown since he's taken over for Zeke. That whole offense is struggling too. So
that just shows you
if
how
you have those
Zeke
players
offense.
And you're leaning on those players, there might be, you might not be wrong to panic, but. Yeah. So we'll give you some players who maybe you can plug in.
Yeah, we'll touch on that.
Just play with.
We'll touch on that in just a little bit. We'll go in and start to recap. Week 12.
Got a lot going on.
Is what we're going to do. So we're going to talk about Week 12, and I'm just going to address a player that stuck out to me in each game on each team.
Yeah.
So we'll start off with the Vikings-Lions game, and for the Vikings, almost that whole offense stuck out, but Case Keenum.
Yeah, Case Keenum's been sneaky.
Case Keenum took that turkey away from Matt Stafford. Remember, I kept saying it was going to be Matt Stafford's turkey.
Hey.
I kept saying it was going to be Matt Stafford's turkey, and then Case Keenum took that away.
Ain't no joke, yeah.
No, and
that was a great game. It ended up being probably the best game of the day with the Dolphins. I mean, the Lions having the ball at the end there and trying to score. And Matt Stafford just barely missing Golden Tate right there before the play before he threw the pick to Xavier Rhodes. He misses Golden Tate off by 5 yards. Golden Tate's in the slot, runs like a up and then turns it into a post. Or runs it out and then turns it into a post going up the field, and he's got 5 yards of separation, and Stafford misses him. But you could blame that on his old beat-up ankle or any kind of excuse that you want.
It's banged up, but he said it's
the NFL quarterback. He got to make that throw.
Hey, the player that surprised me on the Lions, which I thought it would have been the Golden Tate show, which he didn't have a bad game either, but Marvin Jones against Xavier Rhodes.
That catch on the sideline was ridiculous.
Jesus, man. He played lights-out football. I mean, like I did see a stat in the, going into the game how much Matt Stafford targets Marvin Jones during the games, and I was like, okay, but then I was like, Xavier Rhodes is going to go up against him, and I think Xavier Rhodes has been a top corner this whole season. So, yeah. I mean, the Vikings are for real in the NFC. Like, I mean, real. With Case Keenum, I've always been a fan of Case Keenum, like in terms of from college, just because of that. He's just a gunner when it comes to quarterback play. He'll throw it. He doesn't care. He just slings. He's like Brett. He's like a miniature version of Brett Favre because he's not a big guy.
No, he's been making some crazy plays where he's running around the pocket and then ducking and diving and dodging people and then pops up and throws a first down.
That whole offense is clicking right now. But it's like in terms of fantasy players to start consistently. Keenum, I think you can start consistently the rest of the way.
Oh yeah, Keenum, Thielen,
Diggs is like,
for his upside. He's a flex probably for me.
He's a flex at this point.
He has the potential.
He has the potential to put up wide receiver 1 numbers, but he hasn't been doing that.
Kyle Rudolph.
Rudolph's been getting
starting.
better.
He had 2 touchdowns.
I ended up dropping him in our league because I traded for Evan Ingram.
Yeah.
That's kind of backfired on me just a little bit.
Another guy you start in the offense every week from there on out is Latavius Murray. If you have McKinnon, I think he's been reduced to maybe some flex and maybe even a matchup play because the last 3 weeks it's been all about Latavius Murray. Yeah. So on the Lions side of the ball, go with Matt Stafford, of course, ankle injury or not. Amir Abdullah, if you have Amir Abdullah, hopefully you have better options and you can keep him on your bench. He should be a flex starter. He has some good matchups coming down the stretch here in the playoffs, but I still think he's
I'm not that high on him.
Flex.
Like he's a guy you can, like you said, flex play, but I'm not like as high on him because I don't see them.
Yeah.
Because the Lions at this point of the season, they start to get more into that, we need to pass the ball some more. Yeah. Vikings moved to 9-2. Lions moved to 6-5. Next game. Chargers, Cowboys. I don't think there was one player on that Cowboys team that looked good at all. One guy did. It was Rod Smith. Rod Smith.
Oh, that's right. The backup running back.
Yeah, I think that was the.
Or I don't even know if they want to call him a backup anymore. He out-touched Alfred Morris.
Yeah, that was the only touchdown that they had. Yeah, was him.
He might actually be overtaking their running back 1 role. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, just because I think what helps him out is he has the ability to catch the football out of the backfield.
And that was
Morris is
the
not
game's
a great
great
pass catcher.
Right.
Chargers. Phillip Rivers.
They're hot.
Was a top quarterback.
They're playing like the Chargers in December.
Depending on how your league point system is, I think if you do without bonus points, Phillip Rivers was the number 1 quarterback.
Yeah. Should be.
Yeah, he was the number 1 overall scoring quarterback.
He put up 450 and 4 touchdowns, I think. That's ridiculous.
He went off. And Keenan Allen.
Keenan Allen is Keenan Allen. If you have held on to him through his struggles, you are mightily happy because they're getting hot right now. And the whole scenario, I can just see it unfolding. If you have any Chargers players that's connected to Phillip Rivers, you start them. If you have Tyrell Williams or you have Hunter Henry or Keenan Allen,
both the running backs,
or either one of the running backs, right? You're extremely happy at this point because their defense, or if you have their defense is playing at a championship caliber right now.
I was telling one of our buddies earlier, he was writing me about the Chargers, and I said, you know what? I think y'all can win the division.
That's the host.
I really do think
the script.
This is what's going to happen because everyone else in the division is playing terrible. And basically, it's the Chiefs' division to lose, and they're losing it. And it's the Chargers' division to win because the Broncos and the Raiders are not doing anything.
Broncos and Raiders, which is crazy. Defenses are playing horribly. Denver's offense playing worse than Oakland's offense, but I'm gonna stay with the Chargers. They're the best. They're playing the best football right now. That's coming down the stretch. Chiefs are ahead in the division, I think, by 2 games. Chargers are definitely coming up strong. I see the Chargers come back and winning this division and just staying hot.
Yeah, I think
especially it really benefits fantasy football playoff players because
and I think the Chargers.
This is their stretch of getting hot. You know,
next game was the boring game of Thursday Night Football: Giants and Redskins. Giants didn't. No one stuck out on the Giants for me at all in that game. And I'll kind of throw it out there right now as the big news today is that McAdoo announces that Geno Smith is the starter.
Is the starter.
Which ends Eli Manning's 210-game consecutive start streak
Right.
ever since November of 2004 when he took over for Kurt Warner. And I think that's probably one of the most idiotic moves.
Disrespect.
You can't do that to a franchise.
Put some respect on
this whole team's just fell apart, early since the beginning of the season just because of the injuries, and Eli is not completely to blame. I think it's more on McAdoo for this point.
Yeah.
I just don't think the guy's capable of carrying this team. So basically, with the Giants, there was no one that really stuck out for me all in that game.
No.
Darkwa might have done something in that game.
Darkwa only had 30 yards on 11 carries. Gallman came in. He had 9 for 37. Neither one of them did anything hardly. Eli Manning went 13 for 27 with an interception, 113 yards from scrimmage. So I can see from a production standpoint, but it's so hard benching a Hall of Fame quarterback. Multiple 2-time Super Bowl MVP. Yeah,
he's one of 12 quarterbacks to have multiple Super Bowl wins.
Yeah.
So,
only time will tell if it was a smart move or not.
We'll see, and I don't think it's a smart move because they were also saying that Davis Webb might get some playing time towards the end of the season as well because the Giants are already eliminated from the playoffs.
If that's the case, they're just trying to evaluate for next season already.
Yeah,
I mean, that's sad to say.
Kirk Cousins played a decent game.
Yeah, he played well.
I had him starting over Goff this week, and I shouldn't. I think it was more like see what Goff can do after having the game against the Vikings, which that was my mistake doing the last-minute switch. But
Cousins had 19 for 31, 242, and 2 touchdowns, threw a pick. And his only interception was a 50-yard return for a touchdown for Janoris Jenkins, which was the only touchdown for the Giants. So
it wasn't a pretty game. Crowder had a good game.
Yeah, Crowder went.
And I know Vernon Davis let a lot of people down in a dream matchup too.
Right. Yeah, he didn't have a single catch. No. If you're playing that Giants defense, actually, they're not even. You've heard me talk about it before. Whenever these coaches come in and really get these players to settle down and play for themselves, like the Giants defense has been doing, like McAdoo did a few weeks ago, they turn it around the last bit of the season. Now their offense is struggling, but their defense is holding their end of the. They're doing way more than they need to be doing. When your only touchdown comes from your defense, that says something. So if you're playing the Giants defense, you actually might want to. If you're playing a player just because you think the matchup is good, you might want to rethink that matchup. I would only start my star players right now against this Giants defense.
Yeah, this is the point of the year where you can start looking at older players too and say, hey, they're slowing down. Yeah. Example, because I'm going to go on and jump to the next game right now, which was the Colts and the Titans, where the Titans.
Sure. Well, I want to talk real quick.
The Titans ended up winning the game.
Let me piggyback Josh Doxson because I picked him up, and I think he's going to be a nice player going down the stretch.
I think he's a sleeper stretch, sleeper player.
Losing Thompson, I think him and Crowder both got an uptick in targets, and both of those guys need to be on. You need to have one of them on your team if any of them are available. Start them.
Yeah.
Getting hot.
So I listed in our start of the week for last week, I listed Mariota and Jacoby Brissett down, and both were very underperforming. Both didn't even pass for over 200 yards at all. It was a worse game. It was more of a defensive game. Funny thing was Derrick Henry outplayed.
DeMarco Murray.
He had one more carry than DeMarco Murray. He had 13 carries for 79 yards. DeMarco Murray, 12 carries, 9 yards, with the touchdown.
Most of DeMarco Murray's work came in the red zone. Most of Henry's work came in between the 20s. So.
They're starting to, it's that point. Like I said, that's the thing.
It's so confusing.
It's the thing where I want to talk about veteran players too. And that's the point where veteran players are going to start slowing down at this point of the season. And when you're at that 30-plus range in terms of age.
Well, typically,
in terms of skill players, you're starting to slow down, except for Vernon Davis, but he just had a bad week.
And well, typically those veteran players, especially the ones on playoff teams, they have been there before and have the experience and know what they need to do to get their team to the next level. And typically, you see the veteran players, you know, on the playoff teams at least rising up. I don't know what the deal is with this backfield. It's so confusing. I don't know that you trust either one of them to start. If you have to, you have to, but it's confusing.
Delaney Walker didn't look bad. Delaney Walker had the 63 yards and a touchdown. And then Jack Doyle for the Colts didn't play. He didn't play bad at all. 94 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, no one looked like extremely spectacular in that game at all.
No, I'm not excited about anyone on either one of those teams. I'm excited if you play the Titans, that they're a bad defense and they're a good matchup for you.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean.
Or the Colts, really, for that point.
All right, next game.
Yeah.
I mean, there's really, I can't really talk about anybody else more because there's no one that really stuck out. This was a one-sided matchup, Eagles and Bears. 31-3 Eagles.
Oh, yeah. Eagles dominated.
Again,
I mean,
it was the Carson Wentz show. But,
doing
this is where people are questioning the Eagles themselves because the Eagles have not played anybody, really challenging at all. They haven't had any, difficult games this whole season, really, that were challenging.
Well.
Now, if they play those players at, a certain point in the season.
Yeah.
Hey. Let me go back and look. I got to look at their.
We'll see. I'll look up some of their opponents, but I mean, they beat the Bears down. I have their defense, and I'm super glad that I held on to them. And
Alshon Jeffrey's been playing.
Golly, yeah,
he's a top 10 receiver right now in fantasy football.
LeGarrette Blount had 97 yards.
Yeah.
Ertz goes over 100 and a touchdown. He was eating on 10 receptions. If you're in PPR, God, Ertz had a day. Really. All the Philadelphia, it's funny because their whole backfield has some sort of value, and even Jeffrey has value, and really the player who has not been as explosive is Nelson Aguilar. He hasn't been doing quite as much here as of lately.
It's been the Ertz, Jeffrey. Jeffrey's been playing like a baller the last month.
Yeah.
He's been good. So basically, I mean, it's the same.
They've been winning with defense.
I think Blount was the real surprise in that game in terms of offensive players for the Eagles. I'll go on and jump to another player that didn't was playing good and didn't really do much of anything was Corey Clemente. Corey Clemente for the Eagles, the other running back that they have.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't, it's just become the LeGarrette Blount show is what it did. He didn't have much production going on that game. I think he only had finished with 30 yards.
Yeah, Clemente's just
he's been more of one of those receiving backs for them and rushing. He had a good game a month ago against the Broncos.
They've just been up by so much here lately that they're just we're going to run the clock out and we're just going to use whoever.
That's why LeGarrette Blount show. Just going to
use whoever we want.
Away for them.
Yeah. So looking back on Philadelphia's schedule, they've beat week 1. They beat Washington. They lost week 2 to just a ridiculous Kansas City team. Lost by just a touchdown. Beat the Giants in week 3. Beat the Chargers week 4.
Yeah, they haven't lost.
Beat Arizona. Beat Carolina, which was that's a playoff team.
That was a Thursday night game.
They beat Washington again, sweet Washington. Then they beat San Francisco, big. Beat Denver, big. Beat Dallas, big. Beat Chicago, big. All 4 of those teams have been struggling. So the past month they've been playing some struggling opponents. But Washington ain't no cake ride. Neither is Carolina. Neither is the Chargers. And when they beat the New York Giants, that was actually the week Odell got hurt. So they beat an Odell New York Giants team, which is, a completely different team than what they are now, obviously. But they haven't really they haven't played too many teams that are top of the division, but they're a good team.
Yeah. I still think they're the best team in the NFC. I mean, other people will, experts were saying that it was the Saints and the Rams.
Well, the next 2 weeks they go. Well,
Change that.
this week they go to Seattle, which is a different defense.
And then they play the Rams.
And they play the Rams in L.A. And then really after that, they don't have another tough game except Dallas comes to town, and Dallas should be with Zeke week 17. So that'll be a fun one to watch. But they have Oakland week 16 at home. That's yeah. And then they play the Giants at the Giants. I think it's going to be.
I'm just going to go in and announce it right now, a week in advance, is that the Rams will beat the Eagles.
The Rams going to beat the Eagles?
Yes.
Okay. As I like to do, I like to play devil's advocate and say that Philadelphia wins by 17 points.
Don't make me laugh.
Defense is too good.
All right, so
yeah,
I'm gonna speed things up a little bit too.
Yeah,
just because we kind of been rambling on. So just to touch on this, Panthers Jets, Robbie Anderson
balled out.
Bombs
away.
McCown balled out.
McCown train's back up and running.
Cam did not ball out. Like ridiculous, like.
Cam didn't do a whole lot. He did enough to make fantasy owners happy. He had
30 rushing.
He had 30 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown, and he had 160 receiving yards,
passing yards.
Passing yards. And then
Funchess had over 100 yards. He had 108 yards. That's the first time this season he's had 100 yards.
Yeah, basically Cam was only throwing to him, which is sad. And the sad thing about that is I was really looking forward to having Greg Olsen back, just because I'm a Cam owner. And I wanted, obviously Cam to reap the benefits of having his number one tight end back. And Greg Olsen got caught one pass, and then that's all he did. And ended up re-injuring his foot in the third quarter and didn't come back. So
Cam Newton gets on that trend, though. When he gets a hot streak with a particular player, he'll stick with that player. Example of being Funchess right now, which is good if you have fun. If some of y'all stuck out with Funchess, the last few weeks he's been playing pretty good with after that trade from Benjamin. All right, next game. I'll jump on it now. Patriots, Dolphins. Tom Brady had a good game.
Dolphins. Tom Brady is Tom Brady. Gronk had a good game.
Rex Burkhead came back to play. He showed up again.
His kind of came garbage time. His came late in the game. Gronk had 2 touchdowns in the beginning.
Yeah. But they really like using Rex Burkhead and Deion Lewis.
Deion Lewis is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I feel like I say this every week.
Yeah, they love using Deion Lewis. They love using Rex Burkhead. The only reason Rex Burkhead had the bad game last week was just because of the fumble. And you know how Bill Belichick is. When there's a fumble, he's going to sit you down and not let you play.
Yeah.
All right. So, and then that went how you expected. The Patriots took that game easily.
So is this the week that the Patriots get back
Chris Hogan?
Chris Hogan? Is he set
I think
play?
it's still waiting to see.
Let's see what his update is.
Check it. I'll check it real quick.
Chris Hogan. Well, all it says is he's been ruled out. There's still no timeline.
I'm sure there'll be an update too, because we'll see.
He should be ready to come back to the field this week playing. Who are they playing? At Buffalo. It's a pretty good matchup too. Should be expecting Chris Hogan back.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm gonna look on Twitter and see what updates have come out with Chris Hogan. Actually,
besides that, Miami. The tight end looked pretty good. He had 5 targets. I think he turned it into 80 yards.
Chris Hogan walked through. So earlier today, he walked through the Patriots locker room, no longer in a sling for his shoulder. Is what one.
Well, if you don't get him back this week, then you're pretty much guaranteed to get him back first week of the playoffs, and that's probably a good thing, I would say. If you have Kenyon Drake, you probably want to get Kenyon Drake on your team with Damian Williams coming out. I think he had a concussion.
Yeah, I think
was it a concussion?
No, it was something nastier than that. It was his arm.
It was a nasty one?
Yeah, it was his arm. Well, he landed on a tackle. Like, he went down funny on his arm.
Ugh.
And, yeah, he went off the field, looked like in tears.
Oh, no.
But, no, I'm just looking at latest tweets on
I was wrong. Damian Williams expected to miss 2 to 3 weeks
Yeah,
due to a
that's what
dislocated shoulder. So
the
if
only
you have
running
Damian,
back they have is Kenyon Drake right
if
now.
you have Damian Williams, then drop him and pick somebody else up.
Yeah.
Pick up the Chargers' little backup scat back,
Eckler.
Eckler, or
Hey, look at this trade,
somebody
though.
who might
Someone
still be out there.
tweeted out, in a full-point PPR, should I accept this trade? Giving away Kareem Hunt, receiving Jordan Howard, DeMarco Murray, Kevin Hogan.
Yes.
Yeah, I would trade away Kareem Hunt.
I would do that.
I would trade away Kareem Hunt if someone offered me a trade for Kareem
Man,
Hunt. in our
struggling.
league, but no one's going to do that in our leagues. We got a very conservative trade group right now, except like 2 people.
Hey.
That was a shot at
In
you.
the playoffs.
That was a shot at you.
Hey, that's because
That was a shot at you.
my team put up 195 points last week, and we're not PPR, by the way. So
That was a shot at you.
my team is staying as is.
I don't want to talk about it. Cheating ass team. All right, next game.
Kamara, baby. And Julio. Woo! Julio and Kamara. Who's he eating out there? Big Ben.
Trade raping Derek.
Lovely.
Trade raping Derek.
Yeah,
All right. Buccaneers, Falcons. We'll just talk about Julio.
That's all you got to talk about.
Yeah. Oh, and Peyton Barber.
And Peyton Barber, true.
Vulture.
Peyton Barber with 5 carries for 7 yards and 2 touchdowns. Go Peyton Barber.
Peyton Barber
That's a day right there.
had himself a day.
What is that, 12?
He came in and got some extra PT with
12.7 points.
Doug Martin, Dougie Doug, getting the concussion.
Doug Martin has a concussion, but let's just talk Peyton Barber maybe as an ad. Maybe you go pick him up and think, I'm going to stash him away because Doug is concussed and Doug Martin has played horribly, terribly, underperformed in every way, shape, and form this season. I mean, Jameis is out and the defense is hurt.
The other backs have been stepping up, though, too.
And it's just, I can't say it's all Doug, but he's been bad.
Yeah.
If you have anybody, I mean,
Jaquiz
Peyton
Rogers
Barber
is another guy to look at, too, if he's
or
available in
Jaquiz
your league.
Rogers,
In our
but-
league, he was drafted and he's been on the same guy's team.
Peyton Barber is a
Totally
6 foot, 225-pound back who they're giving the football to on the goal line. In my opinion, I'm going after Peyton Barber. If I need a
If
running
you're in a
back,
stretch for a running back.
Doug Martin ends up not playing this week, sure, pick him up, see what he does.
All right, moving on.
Other than that,
Oh, yeah.
Julio.
Talk about Julio. Just going to get it out.
12, 252, 2 touchdowns, and that one was a bomb too. So I got some bonus points on that. It was sweet. Put up 50 points in our league.
You got your revenge. You got your revenge on the Kingslayer.
The Kingslayer. So somebody in our league named their team the Kingslayers because I've won back-to-back championships. So I guess I'm the king. I'm going to quote myself here. I'm the king.
You've won the last 4 or 5 too.
The last 4 out of 5. Just been hot lately. That's all. I'm building a dynasty here. But
Cheat nasty.
named his team the Kingslayers. I think he beat me by like 10 points the last time we played. And then this week I beat him 190-85. So it was good to get my revenge back. But I had Kamara who had those big touchdown runs, had Julio with the huge day, had Big Ben with his monster day. Eagles defense did a good little amount there for me. Hopkins is his usual consistent self, and just the chips just fell where they may. That's all. Anyway.
Sanu had a good game
Sanu
just because
did.
of that passing touchdown.
See?
He got a better.
Julio's so good, he just helps everyone else around him.
Mohamed Sanu's going to be the next Browns quarterback next year.
He might be. He dropped that pass right in the breadbasket, though. Julio was just running, turned, looked back. He did kind of make a little bit of adjustment and then just. Hey, he threw a better deep ball than Matt Ryan has all year, so, it is what it is.
All right, we're going to start going speed round mode now.
Sure.
We're almost at 30 minutes right now. Bengals Browns.
Black puke.
Yeah, I mean,
Didn't
Bengals
matter.
defense let me down because I thought they were my start of the week.
Yeah.
And I figured they would. And I did bring up the Chargers too last week, I remember. But I was like, Bengals, they're playing against the Browns. And, of course, yet again, the Bengals against the Browns let me down. All right, Chiefs, Bills. This game was a boring game. Tyrod Taylor made it.
If you got the Browns team, Josh Gordon's coming back next week.
Yeah.
Josh Gordon's coming back next week.
We'll
That's the only thing that excites me about that whole game, about the entire team. It's just
Crowell didn't play
Josh
bad. Isaiah Crowell had a good game.
No, he did. He had a good game.
But
About
yeah.
time.
All right, Josh Gordon.
Oh, Joe Mixon had his breakout game.
Oh, yeah, I should have mentioned that. Joe Mixon finally had his
Been waiting
breakout
on it.
game that everyone's been
Waiting all
on
season.
since week 5, basically. And that was the magic week for him, apparently.
Delivered.
But he finally brought it out.
23 carries will do that for you. Had a 5-yard per carry average. Got himself a touchdown.
Yeah, Jeremy Hill will not be on that team next year.
No.
All right, now jump into the Bills-Chiefs game. We already talked about the Chiefs. Chiefs look terrible. They do not look that impressive at all.
Nope.
Bills came out and played. Tyrod Taylor returned, got the win for the team. That's all he needed to do.
He played Tyrod Taylor football?
And prove Sean McDermott wrong. So, I had to make sure I said the correct name for the coach.
Oh, Marshawn Lynch with the greatest tweet ever just now.
Oh, Marshawn Lynch. Marshawn Lynch on Twitter saying this afternoon, the Giants benching Eli Manning for Geno Smith is almost as crazy as not running the ball on the 1-yard line with a Super Bowl on the line.
Leave it to Marshawn Lynch to call everybody out, though, and be Marshawn Lynch.
I love it.
That's hilarious.
I love it.
That's a great tweet.
It is a great tweet. All right, now jumping on to Marshawn Lynch's former. That was a good segue, too, for the next game right here. We'll just go and touch on it real quick. Seahawks, 49ers. Jimmy Garoppolo got his first touchdown in that game.
Yeah, he comes in and he goes 1 for 1 for a touchdown.
Yeah, and he's now
he looks good,
and he's the starter.
And he's the starter.
He's
actually,
for the team
I mean, it's just one. It was just one good one play that I seen, but he is standing in the pocket. He looks exactly like Tom Brady during the play, and even the people who are commenting are like very Tom Brady like. But he's just standing there tall in the pocket, just kind of bouncing. Takes a few steps to his left, then he starts to roll to his left, and then he just calmly throws a touchdown strike to some receiver I don't know at all for the touchdown score.
Yeah.
It's exciting. If you have, I mean, it gives their offense a little bit of an uptick. So that Carlos Hyde owners, who he's been a bell cow this year, and he's been healthy under the radar. He gets a bump. Goodwin gets a bump.
Yeah, it should help him out.
Aldrick Robinson probably gets a bump. I mean,
yeah. So Russell Wilson, 20 for 34, 228 yards, 2 touchdowns. Eddie Lacy was the bell cow running back in this one, but was awful.
Puke.
That guy just doesn't care anymore. I think his football career is coming to an end
I
soon.
do too. I think he's on
Unfortunately.
he's following, who's the guy that played before him at Alabama? With the dreads. He plays in the Canadian Football League now.
Trent Richardson.
Trent Richardson. He's kind of following him out of the league.
Yeah.
In the same way.
Russell Wilson had seven carries, 25 yards, and a rushing touchdown. Russell Wilson's putting the team on his back. If you still had Paul Richardson on your team, he bounced back. Not a touchdown, but he had 4 catches for 70 yards. Jimmy Graham yet again gets another touchdown.
Jimmy Graham is just
he's been a touchdown machine the last handful of weeks.
Jimmy Graham is just catching rebounds at this point. They're literally just. It's like their offense is like, oh, let's get Russell Wilson will just make magic, and then when we get to the red zone. We're gonna say, Jimmy Graham, just go box that guy out, and I'll throw it on your back shoulder, and you're gonna catch it. And Jimmy Graham's like, oh, okay. And then Jimmy Graham just kind of jogs to the end zone and posts him up, and then catches the touchdown. He did it twice. He's gonna keep doing it.
All right, and Seahawks winning that one. Now on to my opinion, the game of the week. In my opinion, Saints Rams. That was exciting. Your boy Kamara.
Went off.
He
had 11 total touches.
Alvin Kamara the last month has been the number 1 running back. And based on our league scoring, he is above the second place running back, which is Mark Ingram, by 40 points.
Just because the plays are bigger and we get bonuses for those.
He makes the big plays. But still, Kamara is a guy that if you picked him up, and he's been a must start every week. Same with Mark Ingram. You've banked on it.
Just 11 touches for 168 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. The Rams did a good job. The Rams did a good job bouncing back from the loss against the Vikings in this one. You knew, like, and I did tell you. Remember, I said the Saints were my start of the week against the Rams, and that
they're running backs. Yeah,
they're both running backs.
Yeah.
But Michael Thomas only had 51 yards receiving. Drew Brees wasn't spectacular in this one.
No.
He got outplayed by Jared Goff. That was funny.
Well,
Jared Goff had 354 yards. Cooper Kupp finally had his good game. Had an over.
Yeah, he did have a good game.
After me being the Rams fan, I bought Cooper Kupp's jersey on Cyber Monday. I bought his jersey, so I should have that in the mail by tomorrow.
My big storyline for this was the Rams defense versus the Saints offense, and not so much the other way around because the Saints kind of had some players out on all. They just lost one of their best pass rushers, and both their number 1 and number 2 corners didn't play.
The Rams took advantage of that.
So they took advantage, but that's what you do. That's what good coaches do is you go after their weak link. And
McVay has been great about that too.
Yeah. So, but what's most impressive is that the Rams defense shut down this offense to 20 points. That's pretty dynamic. I mean, this was
This was a battle of the
number
top
one
offenses,
offense coming
both
in.
top offenses in the league right here. And the Rams ended up winning that just because they had the healthier, better defense in this one. So jumping on to the next game, we'll talk about real quick Jaguars Cardinals. Blaine Gabbert's been playing good. Ricky Seals-Jones.
Yeah, Ricky Seals-Jones, 2 touchdowns last week, 80 yards. This week he has 67 and a touchdown.
And a touchdown, yeah.
4 carries. The only thing that worries me, I like this kid. He could end up being somebody who catches fire for you at the end of the season, and really just is a good player to go through the playoffs with because their matchups is pretty good going down the stretch. But I seen a report where last week I think he only played like a total of 20 or 15 snaps.
But they throw to him.
He was still productive.
They want to get him more involved now.
This week
Marions
he played.
Get him more involved.
This week I think he played.
They played the Rams this week.
He played 22 snaps, I think was the exact number. 25 something this week. So
it's going up.
It's slowly going up, but.
And Jermaine Gresham has not been that productive.
When they have 80 snaps, no, that's right. When you have 80 snaps in a game, guys only playing 20, it is a little bit worrisome just because you want your tight ends or any of your players to have volume in fantasy. So if you do go pick up Ricky Seals-Jones, which is probably a good idea to do since he's probably not owned because he's only had one good week, which was this week last week with the 2 touchdowns.
No, he has had 2 straight good weeks.
Yeah.
Tight ends.
Well, I mean, go pick him up now because last week, was kind of some people were probably looking at him like, that's a fluke week, so backup tight end gets 2 touchdowns. No, he did it again this week, and he's looking like a super athletic.
He's been one of Gabbert's favorite targets.
He was coming out of Texas A&M, I did some research on him. He was a receiver turned tight end.
5-star high school recruit, too.
Yeah. Most of these guys are good high school recruits.
Some are, some aren't.
It's interesting to me that he was a tight end or a receiver turned tight end because you know that he has all the traits of a great receiver, and Blaine Gabbert likes him. So yeah,
I mean,
it's interesting. Go get him if you can.
Yeah, I mean, Adrian Peterson kind of bounced back a little bit.
I know Adrian Peterson
had about 90 yard, like somewhere in 90 yards scrimmage. Blaine Gabbert's been playing pretty good. And
Bruce Arians
is talking about how he might consider Gabbert as the starter for next year.
Could be the starter
if this continues. I don't think that helps Larry Fitzgerald out at all.
No, I don't know. He threw some good balls. He threw some good balls in tight windows too. Larry Fitzgerald. Larry Fitzgerald didn't have a monster day, but
he only had 12 yards receiving.
Yeah, but who do they play?
Oh yeah, Jackson.
Number 1 pass defense in the NFL.
Yeah.
So I want to see what Gabbert does this week against the Rams, who also are a good defense. And then just kind of see how he keeps, leading this team.
And Blake Bortles, Vultures, Leonard Fournette.
Yeah, didn't he have 2 rushing touchdowns?
2 rushing touchdowns, right. 62 yards rushing on 6 carries. Leonard Fournette wasn't impressive. 12 carries, 25 yards.
I really just feel like they don't want him to throw the ball, which I don't blame him. But for the Jacksonville Jaguars, I have Blake Bortles and have him running read option plays and actually keeping the ball and vertically getting down the field tells you that they don't want him with the ball in his hands.
Dede Westbrook was his top receiver in terms of reception yards.
Yeah.
Or receptions and then yards. T.J. Yeldon just had 42 yards.
Cole had a few big plays that he had a few missed opportunities on where he could
2 catches, 30 yards.
Yeah, he had a few bombs that kind of got away from him.
Number 1 receiver, Marquise Lee, only had 1 catch for 13 yards. The Cardinals defense kept them in check.
That's just the Patrick Peterson effect. Mm-hmm. No big deal.
No. Moving on to the next game.
Yeah.
With that being, oh Lord, my headphones sound like a little motorcycle in my head. So the next game that we're going to talk about is going to be, sorry, computer is taking a little slow to load. I'm just trying to pop up and make sure I don't say the wrong one.
Broncos Raiders. The
That's
suspension fight game.
That was the best part of that game.
Yeah. I just seen another.
Both guys are.
I just seen a meme on Instagram.
Oh.
I'm on it today.
Yeah,
Mexican word of the day, talib. would be a good idea to leave your chain at home if you don't want it snatched off your neck. To leave. And I also said, there were some good memes that said 2 Chainz that had him with his chains on, like, you know, on the 2 Chainz album. That was funny. But it's just, what an asshole to do it, like, for the second time. You know, he did the same thing last year, and it didn't really, Michael Crabtree was like, whatever last year. I'm just going to we're just going to beat you. And the Raiders ended up just beating the Broncos on national television. This time, he snatched it out the chain. Michael Crabtree like, oh, hell no. We're about to fight.
Michael Crabtree took his helmet off
yeah,
and was swinging. Talib kept his helmet on because he was scared to get
He kept
hit.
his helmet on and was swinging.
Yeah,
Which doesn't make no sense to me why you want to fight with your helmet off.
Right.
Against someone who has their helmet on.
It's like bringing a gun to a knife fight.
Yeah, like.
But,
I don't know. It's just
Marshawn Lynch didn't look bad. I mean, usually the Broncos have just been on a downward spiral in terms of both sides of the ball.
I think they were like trying to right the ship, and then John Elway come out and try to motivate them, and it's like, hey, y'all soft. And I think that instead of motivating them, it just kind of pissed them off, and they are now playing very soft in every facet of the game.
Their chemistry's gone too.
Yeah, they're struggling. Their quarterbacks are so bad they can't get anything going with any of them at this point. So there used to be a matchup where you wouldn't start any of your offensive players against them because their defense is just so dominant. At this point, you are starting anyone that you like against them because they can't really stop anyone.
No, and I mean, C.J. Anderson didn't even look good. 5 carries, 12 yards.
No, he struggled.
That whole team is just
and
struggling.
That's a terrible defense with the Raiders' defense, and they still couldn't muster anything up on offense. So, hey, you're playing the defense against the Broncos, playing with passion and confidence. If you're playing anyone against their defense, have at it. It's not a scary matchup anymore.
Mm-mm. Going on to now, we'll talk about your Sunday night football.
Man,
game. I'll let you go into more detail about this yourself. Packers Steelers. I'm sure this was probably a game.
This game was funny because I kept having to pause it and then like go get the kids to sleep and give them a bath or feed them or go do something for the kids and come back and watch a little bit of it. And when I would wake up crying or something, I had to go. So it took me forever to watch this game, and the suspense was killing me because Brett Hundley finally came out of his shell and decided that he was going to light somebody up. And the Steelers, got the number 4 pass defense right now. It's a great matchup. And they're at Heinz Field. I expected this to be a blowout. I expected it to be like a 27-3 game or something crazy like that. And actually, Big Ben was one of my honorable mentions start of the weeks. I have him in fantasy. He put up 40 for me this week. He went off.
League,
if you had Hundley.
Yeah, in our league, he was the top scoring quarterback. Hundley was the top 5 scoring quarterback.
Yeah,
he was number 3.
If you do have Hundley, I don't know why you would have him starting, but if you did, hey, lucky you because he's killing it. He played very good against Pittsburgh. Devontae Adams is his favorite target by far. And
easily by far.
Williams is just – Jamal Williams is run out of his mind. He had receiving touchdown, rushing touchdown. What he had about 120 from scrimmage. And he played very well. So with Aaron Jones out and Ty Montgomery kind of nursing those ribs out, I think you can lean on Jamal Williams again.
Yeah, and they're talking about bringing Jones. Like Jones has a chance to he might play next week.
Yeah,
which I don't think he will. But they were talking about going with a committee approach when he comes back.
I don't know. Williams looks so good. Every time one of these backs get their time to shine, they step up. So and then when we go to the committee approach,
one gets hurt.
They don't do anything.
Right.
It's really strange to me. I don't know.
Yeah, but Devontae Adams is by far Hundley's favorite target to throw.
What did you finish with?
5 catches, 82 yards, 1 touchdown. But he had his longest catch was the 55-yard.
Yeah, and it was a
touchdown.
Nice long touchdown. Right?
But Jordy Nelson is just falling off the face of the earth.
Basically, all they did, they just ran those little fire screens to him and just threw the ball out to him real quick, and he just kind of made a man miss and picked up 7 yards. That was kind of his role in the offense this week. And I think that'll probably be his role in the offense going forward. He's not.
I don't see you all making the playoffs.
Yeah.
This isn't your all's year. It just shows you how important of a player that Aaron Rodgers is to this team, and it's kind of exposed you all too how not spectacular this team is without Aaron Rodgers.
I think our offensive unit is still pretty good without Aaron Rodgers. I think it just took Brett Hundley some time. I think Brett Hundley's going to have more games, maybe not this great, but I think he's going to be productive. I think it just shows how our defense can't finish. Our defense aren't bad because typically the first few drives of the game, our defense plays exceptionally well, and then it just kind of goes downhill from there once teams figure out kind of how we're attacking them. So I think it exposes our defense more than anything, and yeah. So Steelers played good. Antonio Brown bought out.
Oh, God, I was hoping just a little bit more. If he would have had 200 yards for me. Yeah. That could have probably helped me win my game this week because I was hoping he'd have a Julio game this week. I kept saying that going into the Sunday night game. I was like, if he can have a Julio game for me, then I have a chance to win. Which, I'm not even mad, but like my running backs just let me down. That's the only reason I lost this week. And my bad choice of picking a defense this week, too, as well. Monday Night Football, you had Ravens, Texans. Alex Collins played good.
Alex Collins bought out. Just from my standpoint, I have Hopkins, so I've been watching him. He's been consistent against everyone.
He's been without Watson. There's the touchdown has regressed, but he's still getting the volume.
Yeah, if the weeks he doesn't get a touchdown, he's over 100 yards. So either way, to me, I'm happy because he's getting me double-digit points, and he was targeted 10 times. He's just unstoppable. When you watch him play, you watched him line up against their number one corner. I can't even think of his name right off the top of my head. But he made him look silly on so many occasions that it's just embarrassing. Even on the run plays, DeAndre Hopkins is out there like stuttering his feet and then, running slant routes and things. It's just, DeAndre Hopkins is a crazy dude. And they went into detail about just how he does so much. In the offseason, he trains like Jerry, who am I thinking of? San Francisco great. Jerry
Rice.
Jerry Rice, Jesus. Runs heels like Jerry Rice and does just tons of endurance training, and it shows. And DeAndre Hopkins said that his favorite part of every football game is in the fourth quarter, in the last 6 minutes when his opponent is tired and he's feeling great. Mm-hmm. That's.
But the only thing that I could
that's pretty awesome.
Though, Hopkins will play good.
Just on a Hopkins point.
Hopkins will play good even if the quarterback plays bad. But the thing I feel like you need to worry about now is if you're a Hopkins owner, is that if Bill O'Brien did say that if the turnovers continue with Tom Savage, he will bench him, which means TJ Yates will come in, and I don't think that chemistry there is there with TJ Yates and Hopkins.
No, I still think Hopkins probably still gets double-digit targets just because he's Hopkins,
Maybe.
But the completions and those things, I think I actually thought that Savage was kind of getting into a groove. He did have a turnover, and they ended up losing by 10. He had 2 turnovers.
He had 3 turnovers.
He did?
Yeah, he had a fumble.
Oh, he had a fumble too.
Yeah. He had 2 interceptions and a fumble that he lost.
Yikes.
Joe Flacco played less than stellar, only 141
Flacco's terrible.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to Flacco.
Did you see that?
Well, they are all hurt.
I don't know if you were commenting on the status, though. It was like through Facebook memories, is where Darren's quote, our old buddy, said that he would. Yeah, this was back in 2013. This was on Facebook Memories. He was talking about he's a Lions fan, and he was saying that he'd rather have 2013 Joe Flacco starting over Matt Stafford.
Nah, which Flacco did get hot and got to the Super Bowl that year, but you gotta want Matt Stafford.
Yeah, I wouldn't even
up against Joe Flacco in any year in any scenario.
Yeah, Danny Woodhead hasn't really been all that special yet. I don't think he's filled he's taken over that receiving back role. Yeah. But I don't think he's really took it to the level like where Buck Allen had it. No. But Buck Allen wasn't spectacular either. But Buck Allen had the volume though.
Well, when Buck Allen had it was that stretch too where Brandon Williams was hurt and their defense was kind of struggling a little bit. So they were kind of playing catch up.
Yeah. Alex Collins he's probably been their best offensive player at this point now.
Yeah, I would play him over Woodhead because the game script just calls for
somebody to pound football, you're not going to want to play a guy like Danny Woodhead. I picked him up for a
I wouldn't even play him in PPR just because their defense is so great right now that they're not playing from behind, so they really have no reason to use Woodhead unless it's 3rd and long. And then really, he just doesn't have a lot of value. He's not staying on the field.
No, basically I feel like at this point, Ravens defense and Alex Collins are probably the only guys I would consider having on my fantasy football teams.
Yeah,
from the Ravens,
definitely.
But all right, so that's the end of week 12. I know we kind of went on we talked longer than I expected we would.
Sure.
We'll kind of briefly just talk about Thursday night football, and then on our next episode, which we're going to do Friday, we're going to talk about our starts of the week and trying to preview the matchups of week 13. Your final, in majority of leagues, your final week of fantasy football season. Yeah. The time has come. I mean, either you're in it or you're out.
Yep.
You already know your fantasy, your playoff chances right now if you're in or you're out. There's probably a handful of guys. Like in our league, there's two teams that are fighting for the last spot in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird, though, because, I think it's already kind of dead set in our league. But, a win and a loss for one guy, a loss for one guy and a win for the other guy could just make a difference. So Thursday Night Football this week, it's the Redskins at Dallas this week. Dallas has been playing god-awful without Zeke in the suspension period right now. Kirk Cousins has been playing average. He hasn't been playing, putting up the big numbers like he has. But Kirk Cousins has been, for some reason, there's just this thing with Kirk Cousins' decision-making hasn't been the best. But, skilled players around him are playing better, though, too. They got to step up in the absence of their running back, Chris Thompson, who's out for the year now.
Yeah.
So Crowder's been stepping up the last month. Dotson's been getting more and more and more involved. Samaje Perine been playing like a running back like they thought he would, because they were thinking he'd be the starting running back for them at the beginning of the season, and now he's finally starting to look like that.
Yeah.
Vernon Davis just had an off week, I think, is what it was.
Yeah,
I wouldn't worry about that. Jordan Reed still didn't practice as of Tuesday. So
that's been a good indication that he'll probably be out for you.
Yeah. Basically, I like Kirk Cousins' matchup this week. It's a great matchup for him. Kirk Cousins still makes things worse when he doesn't have anybody. So, if they get the run game going, if they get the pass game going where they don't have to worry about anything, Dallas Dak has not been playing like how we thought he would be.
Yeah.
We thought he would take that Russell Wilson approach and play like his back is against the wall, and he hasn't been doing that.
I think the Redskins, I'm just going to go take it to it. I think the Redskins win this game just based on the Cowboys' offensive struggles. I think they continue. They're not doing a great job rushing they haven't really had a chance to commit to the run game because they've been down just off the bat. And there has been, Marinelli was talking about maybe benching Carr, maybe benching their starting cornerbacks and getting some of these young guys in just to kind of try out some new faces at corner and just seeing what some of these young guys can do. The Cowboys have been a pretty sneaky good defense, and Rod Marinelli really knows. He's a great coach. I talk about him a lot on here. He's a great coach. I have a lot of respect for him. So I think that the Cowboys' defense make it a little bit closer, but they're going to be on the field so much that there's just only so much that you can do. If you're rushing the passer all game, by the time the fourth quarter comes around, you're just gassed. Mm-hmm. So I think the Redskins probably win. I'm gonna say 24-13.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be a crazy high scoring game at all.
Nah.
But I do think that just because it's a division game.
Yeah.
But I think. For some reason, there's a small thought in the back of my head, Dallas could just take this game just because the Redskins are making mistakes. But
they could come out. They could come out, and Rod Marinelli might be on here saying that he's a genius, and he, held Kirk Cousins to an offense to 10, 13 points or something like that. It is in Dallas. If they can get the run game going and keep moving the chains and keep that defense on the sideline, keep Kirk Cousins on the sideline, that's probably their best bet to win the football game.
Yeah, and just don't base the previous matchup that they had a few weeks ago, where it was basically just a tsunami tundra that they played in.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins didn't have that bad of the numbers weren't spectacular in terms of his fantasy points, but Kirk Cousins put up almost 300 yards passing in the rain.
Yeah,
a pouring down rain against Dallas. So just don't let that. If you're a Kirk Cousins owner, don't dwell on that. At all, that shouldn't be considered a thought he played that bad. He didn't put up the big numbers against them. He didn't have a bad game. It's just the weather was terrible that they played in. They literally played in a downpour the entire game. So,
Yeah.
I mean, weather will do that. Dallas is a dome, so they don't have to worry about the weather. It's Jerry's weather is what it is. Jerry Jones determines the temperature and the weather in that place. So I think everything will be all right. So, yeah, I think you can roll all right with Kirk Cousins. You can roll good with Crowder this week. P. Ryan, I would start P. Ryan. He's been a top running back the last month. He's been a top 10 running back. Let's see. Vernon Davis, I think you can consider starting him too. I mean,
Yeah, you should start
I like
Davis.
most of the offense. Like Doxson's a flex play for me.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're in a deeper league, you can start Doxson, but I feel like he's just a flex play in most standard leagues.
I'm flexing him in this. I'm flexing him this week just because I think he just has the potential. He's probably his floor is probably 40 yards. His ceiling is probably 110.
Yeah, I mean, if you're like one of those fantasy teams,
if he gets a big.
I mean, if you're like
play.
one of those fantasy teams that's already locked in the playoffs, I mean,
Yeah.
you're not really stressing about your record at this point. You want to take a chance on a guy and just play on a whim real quick. Let's see how it goes. I'm benching Kareem Hunt, so that's my big decision that I'm making this week. I'm starting Alex Collins over Kareem Hunt this week. So, and we'll see how it goes because I want to see Kareem Hunt bounce back. But if he doesn't, he's going to continue to stay on my bench until he does.
Yeah.
And it might be the point where I regret it. Hopefully, week 16, if I'm in our league championship and Kareem Hunt is still sitting on my bench, and decides to go off then, I might regret it. But, I feel like we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk about any more of it.
All right.
So yeah, in our next episode, we'll talk about our full-on starts of the week for the rest of the games, the 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, Sunday night and Monday night football games. And we'll also, get a little more in detail in the matchups as well. We'll kind of like combine the two a little bit, but we'll have our particular players that we feel as our start of the weeks, must starts of the week, and then we'll go through the matchups as well.
Yeah, I'm going to go through the matchups, and I'm really going to use we're going to really just try to narrow down on weeks 14, 15, and 16, which is most teams' playoff weeks, and just try to there might be some guys floating out on the waiver wire. There might just be a chance for you to decide on which player that you like just based off the people in your lineup and on your bench based on matchups, because if you have somebody, if you're playing let's say you're playing just any receiver, if they're going up against Jacksonville's offense, if you have two receivers, one's going up against Jacksonville's offense, and then you have one going up against Jacksonville's defense, and you have one going up against the Browns' defense, obviously you're going to probably go with the one going against the Browns' defense because the matchup is just so much better.
But if you got a superstar.
Yeah, but some of your superstars. So we're gonna
talk. We're gonna go into more detail.
Yeah,
And
just
at
go
least
into more
talk
detail.
some like opinionated strategy, like how to go through the playoffs and stuff like that. 'Cause
teams that are hot, teams that aren't, teams that have statistically been
Matchups.
good or bad, and even the ones that have been good or bad lately, depending on what the matchup is, just to help just to help you out on, just to get a feel for what might be best for you to do during the playoffs. Get that championship.
All right, so get strapped in for your Week 13 start. Thursday night football, Redskins, Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
Best of luck to those who are scratching to get into their league playoffs right now. And we'll have we'll talk about the rest of the week coming up later on this week.
That's it.
And that's a wrap.
Wrap it up.